Hello, I'm Luke. I'm going to try and do a series of videos to assist people with reassembly of Husqvarna sewing machine stitch selection modules. They're one of the components in these sewing machines that seems to be the most problematic because of old grease that dries up and turns into glue. Some people have success by spraying and putting oil all over them and using heat to free them up. I did not have success with that. The only way I could get the couple of machines that I've worked on operating as they should was by pulling this unit out of the machine, disassembling it completely, cleaning it totally, re-lubricating it and reassembling it. It was a case of learn on the fly. I'm not trained in these machines. I touched my first Husqvarna machine 2 weeks ago, so it's been a pretty steep learning curve. I had to pull this unit in and out of the machine 5 times in order to work out some of the things I needed to know to get it working. So hopefully this video or this series of videos might help people avoid some of the mistakes that I made. In this introductory video, I'm just going to talk about some of the most problematic areas that I've found. Once again, I'm not officially trained. If there's people out there who actually do know what they're doing and talking about and are qualified, please feel free to let me know of any mistakes or errors that I'm making in my presentation, because the last thing I want to be doing is disseminating misinformation about these machines. So yeah, when these things are all put together, this arm unit sits on this shaft here, and it seems to be very common that that is totally seized up with dried out grease. Very, very problematic, that area. And also this one here, which is a stitch, I think it's a stitch width or a zigzag, a part of the zigzag mechanism. But once again, I don't know the actual correct terms for these components. I do apologize for that, but basically this part, the shaft in there, once again gets clagged up with old dry lubricant, and it must, I have found that these must absolutely be working smoothly so that the springs will return them to their positions of origin easily and without stopping. Otherwise you just can't get the things working properly. So I found disassembly, cleaning and lubrication was the only way I could get them functioning correctly, but obviously your experiences may be different to mine. Some of the things I've found are problematic. I don't believe I'm telling anybody anything new here. These cam stacks, obviously this is one here that's cracked, seems to be very common. I don't know where to get these from. I need to try and find where I can get some of these from for parts, if it's possible. This is a nylon or plastic worm drive gear that the cam stack slides on. I haven't seen one of these broken yet, but apparently they do. Of interest, when I pulled this one apart, it was jamming up between modes on the stitch selector. It was like jamming, and you'd have to wriggle it backwards and forwards, and eventually it would go. And the reason for that appears to be that, as you can see, there's a tooth broken off this gear. So keep an eye out for that. I don't know if it's a common thing, but it happened to this machine, so it's something to look out for. These are not super high quality. These components here are not super high quality. They look like a die cast or an injection molded alloy, which is then machined. They are well and truly strong enough to do the job for many years, as they've demonstrated they have the ability to do that. But when you're pulling them apart and putting them back together, they are not strong enough to be able to withstand big forces, especially laterally. They will snap. These teeth will snap very easily if you get screwdrivers in there, or you're levering things, or if you're trying to operate the stitch selector unit when it's all glued up with dried grease. Would not surprise me at all if you could damage these parts with too much pressure. That's why it's so important that they're all running freely. So yeah, there's a couple of the things. When I'm assembling this unit, this is not a unit that I'm going to put into a machine because it's got a couple of parts in it that are broken. These are all spare parts I'm just using as a demonstration for assembly, so please take that into consideration. And also, if I was to be assembling this, I would be lubricating every part, whether it was rotating, sliding, reciprocating, or oscillating, with a good high quality modern style grease. I'm going to use Tri-Flow for this, so I've used it on the other ones. It seems to work well. I've used it on some Singer sewing machines as well. It seems to work pretty well. It seems to go well on synthetic nylon, PTFE, Lubron gears as well, so that's pretty good. There's another one here that I've used on different types of machinery that are under high load, high speed, and high temperature. Very, very similar to sewing machine type things. Molykote, nowhere near as easy to get hold of as Tri-Flow though, so I'm going to use Tri-Flow because I'm pretty sure everyone could get hold of that pretty easy, and it's relatively cheap. This stuff isn't. Alright, I'm going to break this up into several parts because I don't know what I'm doing with regards to YouTube. This is the first thing I've ever done on YouTube. I apologise in advance for incorrect terminology, or if I'm doing anything wrong, or if I'm making certain tasks more difficult than they should be. I've got no doubt that somebody who really knows what they're doing would make me make my process look really clumsy, but there's no videos out there on this yet, so I'll try and help out where I can. Alright, I'll leave it at that for this first one, and then I'll start on some other information for the next video.